I think what makes us so successful at the agency, but just, even as a human being, I think it's the power and the art of listening. Welcome to the Marketing Mirror podcast, where we help guide and navigate you through the ever-changing world of marketing. So no smoke and mirrors here, just the unfiltered truth served with a side of wit. Hey everybody, welcome to the Marketing Mirror podcast. My name is Matt Bork. I am one of the partners at Search and Rescue Marketing Agency. I'm also the Chief Listening Officer, and I'm joined with my great friend, Ali Matos. She is one of the team members here at Search and Rescue Marketing Agency. She's a phenomenal human being, and I am absolutely thrilled to have you today on the podcast with me and for future podcasts. I'm excited that we've gotten a chance to get this started. It has been something that's been in my heart, my mind, my soul for a very long time. I really, truly appreciate you helping me get this off the ground. And I'm excited to just jump right into today. How are you doing, by the way?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me today. And I'm excited for us to sit and chat. I think our clients have asked us to do this for a really long time. So the fact that we're getting up and starting this podcast is very exciting. And I can't wait to dive in today on our topic.
Yeah, me too. I know I was getting a little bit embarrassed every time I'd have a client ask, are you guys going to start the podcast? And I'd kind of hang my head down a little bit and say, it's coming, I promise. So, but one of the things that I thought that we'd start with today is something that comes up quite a bit. And I think what makes us so successful at the agency, but just, even as a human being, I think it's the power and the art of listening. And so I wanted to, obviously feel free to jump in and to share your experience with it and your thoughts on that. But the whole point of these podcasts is to be able to add value to not only the clients that we work with, but to potential clients and just to honestly humans, to people, to good people that we want to just bless with stuff that we've learned through sharing our experiences with, stuff we screwed up, stuff that we've had success with, and then things that you can take home today and you can add that value to your business as a small business owner, medium business owner, large, an entrepreneur. So I'm going to ask you actually to start, like when I say something like the art of listening, what's something that you feel or what's something that kind of that invokes in you?
Yeah, that's a good question. Art of listening. This comes up a lot, actually. It comes up, and I think it's something that's, we've talked about this before. It's kind of overlooked a little bit, right? Like, what does it mean to listen? Listening in your business is such a huge aspect. For me, what I've learned throughout the years is listening is a massive piece of your business. Mm-hmm. Listening allows you to take a step back, remove all your thoughts, your kind of assumptions, and to really just listen into what your clients, what your community wants or is asking of you. Mm-hmm. It allows also for us to deepen relationships. That's a big one, I think, that comes up, especially for us, is that when we listen to our clients and we remove all our, like I said, assumptions and our, expectations and our views, and we just sit and listen. Three things that people want in this world is to be seen, heard, and valued. And I think when you're heard, and you feel respected, and that's another word that comes up when I think of listening. Mm-hmm. I think that really, really just deepens a bond in relationships. Again, with yourself and your community. That's
awesome. Yeah, it's interesting because the first thing that I think of when I think of the art of listening is my wife and my daughters, and everything the success that I have in my life with what I do with work is all because of them. And I praise them for it because they have taught me this art of listening. And what I mean by that is my wife is so good at listening to not just what's being said, but what's not being said. And a lot of times, when somebody walks into a room and you can just sort of feel sometimes, like that either like a load gets lifted off your shoulders, or you can feel sometimes that like, oh, wow, it feels like it just got a little cold in here. She's listening to those things. She's listening to like when somebody walks in and she notices that this person reacted in a different way, and it makes her realize, well, what is the reaction there? So a lot of times it's not so much even just the words, but it's everything else. It's all those little subtle details. And I can't thank her enough actually for everything that she's taught me with that. And my little girls as well. It's asking the why. So when I'm listening with our clients, it's listening intently to not just the words that they're saying, but what they're not saying. And then you mentioned it as well, is that I truly believe that the art of listening is also knowing that we're listening to the target audience. And so who are they? What are they going through? What are they experiencing? What are they feeling? What are they not feeling? These are all little things that I find so magical when we're, working with our clients, is being able to not just, I guess what I'm trying to say is listening truly isn't listening without action. And so I think that that's what's made us successful in creating content. And I think that's what, I'm excited to share with like even people listening to this podcast, is that when you truly listen and you take that time to listen, then you create content that you know is going to engage, because you're not creating it for yourself, you're creating it for them. And,
yes.
And
absolutely. Actually, no, I was just, to me, I'm like, whoa, like full body yes, when you say things like that, because, even a tip that I find is really that works really well for our clients is, when we're creating content on social media for whatever business that we have, and we start to decide what we think people want, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think we start to create content for ourselves, and it's quite obvious when we create content for just us.
Truly.
We're sharing information, we're sharing these things, and we're not listening to our audience. Yeah. So people can tell when the content is not for them. And what happens is they stop following it. Mm-hmm. And another tip that I think works really well when we talk about listening that our clients do is ask your audience, right? If you're trying to create content, you're not sure whatever content that may be, is ask your audience, what do you want to see? Again, when people feel heard, they feel valued, they feel seen.
Yeah.
Right? So when we're creating that content, ask your audience, what would you guys like to see? And then when you create that content, they're like, wow, that person listened to me. And that's somebody that I'm going to want to follow.
It's so awesome. It's having, what is that saying? It's like people don't want to do business with brands. They want to do business with people. And how awesome is it like for a business to show their target audience that they're actually listening by creating content that they know is going to engage them, because they took the time, they made the time to listen. And that is one of those things that I think that's where that art of listening comes in, is it's like making the time. And that's something that I do hear quite a bit. And I know that you've heard quite a bit as well. We were talking about this just before we started recording, is that it is a really, it's a frustrating and a struggle for people when they say, I just don't have time. And that's the thing, is that our actions say so much. And so that action of saying, listen, I just don't have time for my audience. Like, well, what is it saying to them? It's saying, I just don't have time for you. And that's not really what we're wanting to say. We're wanting to say, I do have time for you. It's just hard for me to make time for you. So, I actually was thinking the other day as I was driving, I was like, man, I should do like a little episode on like a warm cup of coffee and listening. Right? Just sit down and like spend time to actually go and listen. And so again, using those tools that my wife and my daughters have talked about, it's like taking time to just sit down on social and go listen to your community, listen to what they're saying, go look at their posts. They'll share with you where they're at. Actually, a lot of stuff they'll share with you. It's not just, they're going to share everything from the neuroscience behind why they're making decisions all the way to things like even just what they're struggling with at the current moment. Right. And those are all those things that then, and when we make the time to listen, and then we've heard these things, then we will create content that's going to engage them, because it's not about our ego. It's not about us making it look cool. And I will say, I've definitely learned my lesson early on creating content that I thought just looked absolutely awesome. It looked like a movie. I thought it was going to be phenomenal, and it fell flat, because in reality, it was a great thing that I learned it, but it was my ego. It was me wanting to make it look cool. When in reality, sometimes it is just answering that one simple question that someone is struggling with just like your iPhone. All they need is to know like one little thing, like, am I going to be safe here? And the answer is yes. It's like, sweet, I'm going to come. And so that to me, I think is like, again, listening is only listening when you put it into action. So
I absolutely agree. And that's where I think, like, as an example, like if you look at campaigns that have done really well, and we've done these with our clients too. So make sure you check out our socials, because we've shared a few of those as well. But it's really cool when you're able to ask your audience what you want. And then again, like I was saying, like kind of put it into fruition. And so we've done that with our clients. We've done campaigns with like, you've asked and we listened, right? Like, and when people see that, they get pretty jazzed and excited about it. And again, I love that you talk about ego, because that's like the number one thing. This kind of spills over to a lot of things in our business, is our ego. It gets in the way.
It really does.
Needs to step aside for a hot second, and it does lead a lot of the time. And when we're able to push that aside, it's like seeing a world through a new lens. We're like, whoa, it wasn't that hard. Like, why was I so scared of this? And it's really just showing up. And we talk about this at SNR, is showing up in an authentic way. When we show up like authentically as ourselves, listening is a huge part of that. That's how conversations happen, right? And realizing like, oh, what I thought may not be what it is, and how can I like redirect myself, in a different way. And then finally seeing those results is like so amazing. Yeah,
it's true. It's interesting because you also then get people say things like, I'm not getting any engagement. right? They'll look at their social feeds and their marketing efforts are just falling flat. And they'll say, I'm not getting any engagement, but they're not even listening to that, because that tells you a lot. And maybe their target audience is already telling you things through just that action alone, that the content you're creating is not speaking, it's maybe speaking at them. When people don't like to be spoken at, they like to be spoken with. And really to also, as you mentioned, to come alongside them from a place of being a guide in their life, somebody who's going to create content that's empathetic and that's authentic. And those words get thrown around quite a bit as well. So people are not dumb. All right. Those words get thrown around like crazy. In fact, I do find it funny when a lot of times people even throw in their hashtag authentic, and it's like, listen, that's not authentic, right? You want people feel it. And I think that's, again, when you're truly listening to your target audience, it also means that you're going to make some time to go and possibly even engage with them. I love this way, but engaging with them through comments, look at what they're looking at and consuming, and also go look at their feeds. And don't just look at the photo or look at the video, the reel that they've created. Look what's behind it. So that goes back to that art of listening is what is going on in their life. Are they, what are they doing? Where are they doing it? Who are they doing it with? Why are they doing it? How did they look in the video? Did they look happy? Are they filming mainly their kids? Clearly their kids are a priority. And they're like, are they filming their dog? They love their dog. Like, all these things is valuable information, so that when it's time to actually create content from a business perspective, you're removing the hope. You're removing the guesswork out of creating content. And I think that's why that art of listening is so absolutely essential. And I wanted to start with this as one of the very first podcasts, is because it's something that just does not happen. And I love at SNR that we do it well. That's one of the things that I'm really, really proud of, is we do it very, very well, from the moment that there's onboarding with our team all the way through to being on location. Hence, even being able to switch and pivot while we're on location shooting, because as we're there listening, and that's one of my favorite things to do, is to show up early and to just listen. And then you realize, wait, go ahead.
No, absolutely. And it's just, again, I'm just super jazzed about this topic too, because even when you just started talking about, showing up and pivoting, that is a common thing, right? When you're any business owner and you're planning a shoot, you plan a campaign. The point of the matter, and again, speaking to what you just said about conversation, is opening up that conversation, being able to say, okay, you say, okay, we're the experts in the field. This is what we suggest. But we don't just say, okay, what we say goes. That's not how this works, right? Yeah. We give our advice. We're like, here's some topics. Here's some ideas. And then the client comes back and goes, okay, I love this. I love this. I don't love this. And there's your listening. When a client is able to tell us, like, I don't love this, we actually love that. That's something we celebrate, because we're like, wow, that line of communication is open. And now I know what you want. And therefore, now I'm able to produce something that you're very happy with. And that does happen. Sometimes we're on shoots and, certain things happen and like, no, I don't want this anymore. I kind of want to do this. And again, that's where listening happens. Can you imagine if we were to plan a shoot and show up to these sessions and just go, no, this is what I think looks better. Goodbye. A lot of times clients will come back and say, okay, well, this is not what I asked for. And so, yes, it's a crucial part in business of listening. This can overlap into your personal life as well, right? Is being able to have that open line of communication and say, what do you like? What do you not like? And us being able to produce that for them because we were listening to what they wanted. Yeah.
I mean, how many times have we gone to a shoot where you're right, like we have a schedule, we have the shot list, we have everything, and that's been created by either, say, a client, and you walk into the actual location and you look around, and the target audience that they have, that they think it's nowhere to be even found. You look around, you're like, this is everybody that's in this establishment is nothing like what this what this content we're going to create is going to do. So I'd better say something. We'd better talk about this. Otherwise, it's just going to fall flat. And nobody wants to do that with their content. So sometimes it's, as a business owner, one thing you can do is even just press pause and listening to this podcast, if you're listening to it at work, and just look up and look who's in your establishment, right? And just take a mental note of I wonder why they're here. And I mean, it's something that I've always been naturally curious, since I was a little kid. I remember, even my wife and I, when we moved to England, and I remember we'd just sit and have tea, and we would look around, and we'd just sit and silently together and just look and go, I wonder what they're up to. Both of us are very curious people. So, I mean, we would just go, I wonder where they're headed. Wonder what their life is like. Are they going home to a puppy? Are they going home to a cat? You think they're a bird person? We go through all these things, but that naturally is something that just I've always done. But I do believe that the art of listening, one of the things that's absolutely essential about listening is I think it's a tool, it's a muscle like every other one. You just have to start using it, and start more and more that you do it, the more easy it becomes, and the more you become aware of the things that you may have missed. And then as you're creating content, you're realizing, wow, I'm starting to see this engage a lot more because I'm taking myself out of it and I'm actually creating this for and with my target audience in mind. And they had this question and I answered it with that one piece of, content that and that to me is the magic behind why it's so important to listen. I just find it's one of those things that, I just hear people saying, I just struggle with time. I hear it quite often, right? I just struggle with time. And I know that business owners' time there's just not enough time in a day. And so I definitely have to say that, like, I would really strongly encourage people to make the time. Really, there's nothing greater than like showing the action alone of just making time for your target audience. That's huge. Like absolutely huge. Because it's saying, okay, listen, I'm going to make time out of my busy schedule to listen to you guys to where you're at. And then I'm going to create that content for you. And you'll see engagement. I think people are going to be absolutely shocked when they see their engagement go up, and they're going to see everything from the communication between them, which is both ways, all the way through to like seeing their ad campaigns. If they run ads, right? Like, I think they're going to see much more success. And that's one of the things I'm most excited about.
So Matt, what do you think we can give to our audience today? Maybe a couple of tips that they can even just do for their homework. I love giving homework, I love being able to get people to kind of like just an action plan. I mean, can we maybe think of like one or two things that we can do today, that they can implement in their business to kind of practice the art of listening?
I think just start, right? That's the first one. So very first thing is start. And that's something that I am speaking out of, I hang my head a little bit. This is 14 months to start this podcast. And every day I say, I got to make time for this. I got to make time. And everything else, all our clients' work would win every single time because it means a lot to me. I love helping small businesses, medium businesses, every business. I love genuinely helping them. So I would always put their stuff ahead. But I started to realize that this is one of the things that people have been asking for. So they have literally been asking for this for a couple years. And I just did not start. So that's why I thank you. And I thank Jared and the team at SNR for just really giving me a good shove and saying, listen, we got to get this started. So if that's one thing that I can say that I learned the hard way, which I'm glad we're finally doing, but just start. And when you start listening, if you have questions, that we're here. You can reach out to us on social media and ask, well, what can I do? And I think that the other thing that I would say is to, if you're listening, then you'll know where your community, where your ideal audience lives. So what social platform? You don't need to go listen to all of them because they may not live on all of them. So maybe just start with one. Let's just take a breath, start with one, and make time is the other thing I was going to add, but make that time to go spend time where they're at, just hang out and just go listen. And I know that a lot of times too, I don't know if you've had it in your life, but I've had it quite a bit where I'm having a conversation with somebody and I think, wow, like they're truly listening to me. But when we walk away, their actions have shown me that they did not comprehend anything that I was saying. So
right.
That's one of the things that I would also say as well when it comes to the art of listening is that listening is only listening when you put those things that you've heard, that you've taken into action. That you've comprehended what you've heard. So if you're going to start, number one, start. And then number two, you're going to make the time where they're at, whatever platform they're on, just choose one and just go listen. Go through your feed of people that follow you already and just start listening to them. And if you start noticing that all of a sudden it's like, wow, like 5 people were kind of wondering these things or they do similar things. Maybe that's something that you should write down and just mark it down. So next time you create content, you're like, remember those 5 people that kind of did something similar? I'm actually really into that as well. Maybe I should create content around that. And then now you're taking the guesswork out of creating content. It's not, wow, I hope this is and that, I really struggle with creating content that is hoping to do something. I really want to do our best to understand who we're creating it for so that we know the hope is gone and that we know, no, this is created for them, with them in mind, not speaking at them, not speaking over them, but speaking with them. What about you? What about you? What would you add to that?
I know. I agree with you. I think first just starting, I totally agree with that. And I think something that I love doing is just asking what our audience wants. I think that's something that we've said to our clients before that we've noticed is just simply showing up, even if it's in stories, even if it's a quick video. I know a lot of people don't necessarily like showing up with their face on camera, even though I like push people to do that all the time because people I want to see who's behind the business or the brand. But I think just even putting up like a graphic or anything like that, just asking your audience what they would like to see, can be your first leap or your first step into opening that communication. So,
you know how, like, I remember hearing once that one of the most humbling things you could do was to ask. right? What is that? There's this book and I love it. It's like this horse, the horse, I can't remember, I read it with my girls, but it's like the horse just says something really cool and it's help. And I think sometimes I suck at it. I'm terrible at asking for help. And I do think that that's one thing, that humbling yourself and getting online, saying, listen, I want to create content for you guys. I want my business to succeed. So what is something that you guys are interested in? Being able to add social and communication. That's the thing. I think a lot of times people forget too, that social is social. We want to be social on there. And I think we're just more than ever, we are just dying for that transparency, for that authenticity, for that empathy. And when you start by humbling yourself and saying, listen, I want to listen to you guys. I want to know, what are the things that matter to you? What are the things that you guys care about? What would you like to hear about my business, about my services, about the products that I offer? Can I do things like why not? Right? People, when they're asked, I mean, I'm finding even in my own life that I do need to ask for help more. And I think that's something that, man, they're there to help, and people do want to help you. It's like, well, why don't you create content about this? And I've seen it actually happen. It's been quite successful for companies. And I just think that is a very humbling thing, but I also know that scares people, right? Just as you mentioned, it's like kind of I don't even like being in the camera doing this, but I'm trying to hide myself with a microphone and headphones so that people don't really. Yeah, I'm just kidding.
We can see your face. We can still see your face.
Exactly. Awesome.
Nope. Yeah, I agree. I agree with it all.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thanks everybody for joining us today on the Marketing Mirror podcast, proudly presented by the innovative minds at Search and Rescue Marketing Agency. I love the sound of that phone, by the way, and I'm keeping it in. I'm keeping the phone in. It's probably somebody really important that's reaching out to you.
I gotta go, guys. Gotta pick up the phone.
Gotta go.
We got clients to help.
I'm just excited to be able to get this off the ground, to get this started. It's been a long time coming. And so for those of you listening, please make sure wherever you follow your favorite podcast that you follow us. And we're just going to continually try to just get better and better at what we do, providing you guys with just content that adds value to your life. And again, thanks so much for listening. I appreciate it. And thank you, Ali. It was awesome.
Thanks so much. Talk to you on the next one.
You bet. Cheers.